Hi, Mel. It's apple tart time. Not entirely sure how many apples I'm gonna need for this. So we're just gonna start off by peeling them all. There are iterations of tarts where you don't peel. Matter of preference, really. Get a little... The skin on the apple won't cook down, so it still will retain a lot of its texture. If you don't want that in the finished tart, then peel them. If you don't care, don't peel them. Peel's got a lot of nutrition in it. For most applications, I leave it in. Going for something a little bit on the fancier end of things here. Did take another look back earlier today, and at first glance, the tart picture in the game looks like a closed top. If you zoom in on the image, it is an open top. Those are apple slices. So we're doing an open top tart. We're using Granny Smith apples, baked tart apples. Use an apple of your choice that isn't too mealy, that isn't going to break down too much and turn to mush in the time you bake it. We're going to be adding cinnamon and nutmeg, so make sure that whatever apple you do use is complemented by those. It's an apple tart. All that matters is you make a tart dough and you put apples in it. How you season the apples, how you cut the apples, how you arrange the apples, those are all just matters of preference and choice and how much effort you want to put in. But the first thing we got to do is peel the apples, if you're peeling them, and then slice them thin, and then we're going to macerate them. What macerating does is it starts to break them down, and it'll give us pliability so that we can start doing some of our arrangements. That process takes a little bit, so we do it first, and then while it's going, we work on our crust. The hope here is that I can make a tart and we won't run into any weather-based connection issues. Tart apples in the tart, yes. Indeed. Is the music really quiet or is it just me? Well, that did a little bit of a flight. 6 apples. If you hate peeling apples, just remember, there are people in kitchens. This is all they get to do for their 13-hour shift. Because they're new and the important trained chefs don't want to have to do this anymore. So you have to prove yourself capable. Two more. Could be worse. Your job could be just to cut onions. If a restaurant ever tried to tell me that my job for the entire shift was to dice onions, I'd walk away. One more apple. There's a distinct chance that I won't need all of these apples, but apples macerated with maple sugar, honey, or no honey, cinnamon, nutmeg. Pretty sure I could just eat that as a snack. There. Apples peeled. If you feel like it, you can just take apple peels, boil them in some water and sugar, and it'll make you pretty decent jelly. Apples are a naturally occurring source of pectin, so if you've ever used, like, if you've ever made jam or jelly and you use Cerdo, you can just, the old school before that stuff used to exist, is you just boil apple peels or apple cores in with it, have the same effect. Pull them out at the end. I think this knife needs some honing. This is by far the most tedious part of making apple tart. Getting your apples prepped and macerated. You want this thin enough, then when you macerate it, it'll be reasonably pliable, but not so thin that there's nothing left of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lightly bend this around the tart pan. So that it overlaps and makes a little spiral in towards the middle. Macerating is extremely important for that. So is how you cut the apples in the first place. That's what I didn't grab. I didn't grab any lemons. Hopefully everyone is surviving this snowmageddon that's going on. Though, every time I look out the window, it's just kind of like, okay, a little bit of snow. Yes, I understand. The temperature is the bigger problem. I at least want the music up for me. I think that last slice was too thick. Boom, boom. You come from? Ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Maybe for next time I should see about getting an orchestrion roll set up in my apartment. Then I can, like, set up a soundtrack in-game. This is just, Solution 9's background music. Give me a reason to collect in-game music, too. Collect the in-game orchestrion rolls. I think the inn has one set up. Hey, Scrub. No, you hydrate. No posture, I'm standing. Just gotta cut through a fuck ton of apples. This was 9 apples. I don't think I'm gonna need all of them. I just really don't know how many I'm gonna need. I think half of them probably would have been plenty. But also, like I said, the macerated apples just sound like they'd be a good snack. So if I make too much, I'll eat them. Are you gonna eat 2 tarts? Or am I gonna make 2 tarts and then one of them is gonna go to waste? It's mostly just taking time because of... You want me to make a savory apple tart? Look, if you're gonna be dropping challenges like this, they can't be last bloody minute, because all I've got in the house that would even get me there is Gouda. I didn't think the tart was our dinner. We hadn't really figured out dinner. That was a slight problem with this. You still have leftovers from the weekend. Or the week. It is the weekend. Mostly just how thin I have to cut these is taking a little bit. I'm gonna like fill this bowl by the look of it. Hey, Bewitch. Yep. Apple tart. We're in the slicing the apples phase. No, I get Wegmans shipped to me. Imagine someone actually having Wegmans products shipped to them in like California or something. How fucking extra would you have to be? Look, people get Junior's cheesecakes shipped to them from all over the country. People get Giordano's deep dish pizzas shipped to them all over the country. Why not Wegmans butter? Yeah, no. I bought a tortilla press. I need to put it into work at some point. I might be too white to make my own tortillas, though. Store's got corn masa, though, so... Not single use. If you think a tortilla press is single use, you are not being creative enough. I mean, it's a unitasker in the fact that its only purpose is to press something flat, but it can press flat things other than just tortillas, like all manner of flatbreads. Hi, Snack. Mel, do we need to explain how something that has a lever to apply force to and press could possibly be a torture device? No, you could not make crepes with... No. Crepes are a batter. You go right ahead and you press your crepe batter. Tell me how that works out. The end is in sight. I mean, the easiest tarts are, like, fruit tarts, which are just, like, pastry cream, some fruit on top, blind bake your tart dough. Mel just wants to make jokes about how she's a tart pan. You guys want to see what Mel looks like? Here's Mel. Also, fun fact, Michael sells tart pans. I went in there because, you know, I just go to Michael's sometimes. And I came out with tart pans. But which, you can't be stealing my jokes. I made that like weeks ago. Also, they're fluted. Oh God, you made a millefeuille. Do you hate yourself? There is music. Here, have some more music. Turned it up. I would make flute noises, but I don't wanna. Look, if Mel hasn't asked if she can ban you, your pun wasn't good enough. That's all I'm saying. Why are you straining orzo? I did forget my lemons. You're making Lunner? Yeah, you guys want to tell me if the apples are doing okay? No, went to go get a lemon. Smash burgers. I have no idea what my dinner plan is. I meant to take something out to cook after this, but then anyway. I don't know that I even have... I mean, I could make grilled cheese with Gouda, I guess. Or I could go with Vamp's suggestion and just make a savory tart. Nutmeg. Cinnamon. Maple sugar. Why am I using maple sugar? Because the in-game recipe calls for maple sugar. Yeah, that may be why I'm not super concerned about having too much of this. Maple sugar. So, lemon, maple sugar, salt, nutmeg, cinnamon. Just gonna work this around. Being very gentle because we don't want these to break on us. And we let that sit on the side. Now the fun part. need somewhere to put these. In my mouth? Okay, now we gotta make the tart dough. I really should have preheated the oven. That's my favorite part of baking, repeatedly forgetting to preheat the oven. Look, nobody ever said I was a professional baker. And if they did, they're a goddamn liar. Cold butter. We will need to cut that down. But first, 1 1/4 cups AP flour. Yes, I know these are liquid measuring cups. They're close enough. I can't find my measuring cups. 1 cup. That is gonna be too much. Yeah, I don't have a by weight recipe for a tart dough. It's just a tart dough. Like, tart doughs are so forgiving. Sugar goes there too. Third of a cup is 2 2 2/3 ounces, which is 4 tablespoons. 5 tablespoons, and I should know this. 5 tablespoons and half. No. 5 tablespoons and a teaspoon? That's 2 ounces. It's 2.5 ounces. I need 1/6 of an ounce. Yeah, which is a teaspoon. Teaspoons is 1/3 of a tablespoon. Tablespoons are half of an ounce. 1 teaspoon is 1/6 of an ounce. Yes, I did math live. little bit of salt goes in there. All I want is metric 2. Can we just get off our self-important asses and stop being the only one using an asinine measuring system based on some guy's foot size that he lied about anyway? Let's start a riot. Riot. I gotta hope that this is the dying gasp, but it's either the dying gasp of this ideology or the dying gasp of this country. Hawaii doesn't recognize it either. Didn't we, like, congressionally say F daylight savings time? I thought... Did they retract that? Because I could have sworn there was something like, the last daylight savings time will be... Of course, why would they ever want what doctors recommend? Doctors are scientists, and scientists are smarty McPoo-poo pants. I know better with my no education. The good Lord Jesus wouldn't have let me be rich if I wasn't smart. He only recognizes intelligence and awards everything fairly. Fuck off, Jim Bob. And then we have the very cold water. Put an ice cube in it this earlier. So that's our egg mixture. Because you're going to be working with cold butter that you want to keep cold. So you don't want the heat from the water to melt the butter. And given what I'm about to do next, you want every advantage. I don't have a pastry cutter and I don't give a flying fuck about one. Pastry cutters are stupid. Yeah, I don't like pastry cutters. My experience with them is that they just get clogged. And they're really annoying to work with. And you know what's a perfectly fine way to cut the butter into your flour mixture? By rubbing it with your hands. This gets really fun. The fact that this is viewed by some as the best way to go about doing this is why you may hear people say that their hands are too warm to be pastry chefs. Because if your hands are too warm, this will melt the butter. No, that's a bench scraper. I love bench scrapers. I hate pastry cutters. I'm assuming Raynaud's is a disease that gives you cold hands. But yeah, basically you're picking up the pieces of butter, and because they're cold, you can rub them and like flake them off. If they were warm, they'd just mush, and you are rubbing the butter into the flour. So you get, like, a good incorporation, and that's how you get the meal like this. Pastry cutters are the things, they've got, like, a handle, they're a half moon shaped, and there's, like, 4 or 5 wire on the half moon side, and you like put it in and go across, and it basically does this. But my experience is the wires are too close together on every single one I've ever owned. So you end up with just the thing gets clogged. And I just hate the process of slowing down and cleaning it out and going again. And you can see we're starting to get like a cornmeal, like a rough cornmeal consistency. You want to visually look for anywhere that's got like larger pieces. Make sure you bring the top up. Once it's pretty well incorporated through, make sure nothing's still stuck to your hands. And you add your little egg mixture. Use a spoon to do this if you're squeamish about touching egg. The other big benefit from doing this by hand is you can kind of feel, okay, is our moisture level right or not? A lot better than just visually looking at it. For tart dough, you do want a pretty tacky dough. We're going to add flour when we roll it out, so you don't want to dry this out too far. You're mostly just looking for dough that comes together. This may be a touch too tacky. Generally want to wait until you've got things mostly together before you make those calls. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm gonna go wash my hands off, and then we'll get this dough shaped and into the fridge. This is the real reason I hate plastic wrap sometimes. Okay, there we go. Especially if it's around any kind of heat source, it tends to melt a little bit, and then it'll re-solidify and be a bit of a problem. Yeah, no, that needs a little bit more flour to it. The other thing to know about by weight recipes is your recipe is very climate dependent. So you got to make sure that you're not like rigidly wedded to it, because if the humidity's higher today or lower or has been higher for the last several days and your flour is still storing moisture, or there's a lot of things that can affect how much flour, how much liquid you actually need. So like, do not expect your pastry doughs, your bread doughs, anything flour based to work exactly as it says on the tin 100% of the time. You're frequently going to have to make slight deviations. That was like 2 tablespoons of flour, and it's a completely different dough. Round it off into a disc. Wrap it up, and you give this like 10 to 15 minutes in the fridge. While that's going, we are going to clean up a bit. Unless you're making like huge batches in restaurant kitchens, that level of precision is generally not necessary. It's better to understand what's going on with the dough and fix it than to be rigidly adhered to this formulaic. So this is our apples, and as you can see, they're very pliable now. But yeah. Next up, flour the board. Get my rolling pin. Rolling pin. I vastly prefer the French style to the one with the rotating ends. There's a lot of like waiting that goes on now, because I need to wait for the dough to rest. Then I need to roll it out, and then I need to stick it in the tart pan, and then I need to put some weights on it, and then I need to let it sit and par bake, and then I actually get to like be extra as fuck and do my lovely little design work. What I can do here is change the music. Get us where I need to be for once the tart's actually made. How long have I even been... It's been in there like 5 minutes. This recipe says you can use it immediately. I just want it to cool just a hair. Pie dough, this is more important to let it rest. Tart dough, less so. Curious whether it's the maple sugar that's doing a lot here. Also curious whether you want it to be worse? Bad dough. Bad dough. Is that what you wanted? Oh, it ripped. Yeah, I'm running into 2 issues here. One is that my cutting board's a little small for this. What's the other? I forgot already. Little flour on there so it won't stick when I do this next bit. Oh, might still stick. Hopefully not too much. Yep. Fuck. Well, that went to shit. Okay, take 2. I'm gonna take this little bowl of water away before it spills all over a table near sensitive electronics. Why are you being like this? This dough is being very fragile today. I'm going to make sure that everything's pushed down to the corners reasonably well. We just... that. I'm going to do some patch-ups. Okay, so the oven's already preheated. We're going to stick this in the oven. To fry and bake. So that's going to get about 20 minutes, so about 640. Well, that's going... I have a lot of extra dough. I'm going to see if it's enough for this pan, which is slightly smaller. Yeah, looks like it'll be enough. That went a lot smoother. Always fun with being back in practice on something can do. Should have done this on the first one. Hopefully it will not be a problem. The pie weight should do a lot of what this will do. But why not both? Really good use of dried beans. Good staple for good, cheap, shelf-stable food. Mix it with rice, you got complete proteins. And it's a good pie weight. I got 15 minutes to wait for that crust to par bake. Better than pie weights because you can actually eat them. Yeah, I'd agree. When you're done, you can just, like, soak them in water for a while and make red beans and rice. That'll go in when that one's done par baking. Now the question is, what do I do for the next 15 minutes? One thing I love to do with this, just like the scraps, is I'll just roll them out and bake them. You don't want me to sing. Yeah, and just toss some, like, cinnamon sugar on this. Bake it off. Good stuff. Am I off looking for a baking sheet? Yeah, I am. This one will work. Sugar. Maple sugar. That's what we're doing today, because the in-game, that is a lot of nutmeg. Hope y'all like nutmeg. And by y'all, I mean me. So I'm the one who's going to be eating this. Scrap pie. Just using up the scraps. Gonna need to be culinarian soon enough. Can I at least check if I have better gear to put on yet? I do. Did. Nope, I updated that. Okay. 10 more minutes. I'm not done over there, but I am gonna work on something while I've got a few minutes. That is not like leveling the classes. How do I get this thing? Ah, that's why I'm not seeing it. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Made by a carpenter. By a goldsmith. Made by a blacksmith. Where's the market board? There it is. How much will one of these things cost me? Oh, like 5 grand? Yeah, okay. Teleport to Ishgard Foundation. Y'all get to see my apartment now. There you are. Thought there was a quick way for me to go in. Let's try up here. Oh, my apartment looks like absolute crap. I have not decorated it. Don't worry. We're literally going here to put a few more things down. Don't worry, I've got all my artwork that I've collected. Trying to remember how to do this. It's like dogs, party, social, housing, indoor furnishings, place. Got your own spot. And they get their own spot. Map goes up there. There. These are like all the like wall furnishings you get from the seasonal events. Like these are all the ones I've done on this that have come out on this character. Like that, I think. No, you're from Ruby Weapon. But like these three, I think that one. There's Nashu and Hildebrand. Sultana, very important. Yeah, we've got some Halloween things, but the reason I'm here is to set up one of these. That as far as I'm... So I can only pick 8 songs? Yeah, I guess we only get 8 on the playlist. So I'll have to like figure out what all these songs are. And I can set up a playlist, and then at the end of things I can come here and instead of having one song, I can have this on rotation. I am watching the clock, don't worry. I haven't gotten anything out of trials? Huh. A gentleman to walk with me? I have the Fall Guys theme? Okay. So I have to be in here and actively playing the playlist. I thought there was something that you could, like... That was... I'm gonna need to figure out how this works, because why is it... Ah, I can choose my own background music. Oh, is this how I'll keep it playing? Okay, yeah, it's also been 20 minutes, so, that button, and that button, so you guys keep the music. That is... too loud, though. I'm gonna move the pie weights out of it. That's right. I should have put a piece of parchment paper in between, but apparently I'm a dingus. Yeah, put a piece of parchment paper in between your dough and your... That is scrap tart dough with some apples on it. It could be a map. Yeah, don't be like me. Put parchment paper down first. If you want it for a D&D map, you can have it. Take a screenshot. You just kind of do this, just overlapping it slightly. And this will steadily work its way inward. Okay, so yeah, that's how we set up the 8 songs to go on shuffle. So now we can, like, go to our apartment at the end of the first half of stream and listen to a playlist in our apartment as we bake, and then we'll go back to in-game music more regularly when we get back to leveling Culinarian. Nope, bad. Nothing's burnt. Those are just like flakes of dried black beans, because I forgot a step. And then I forget it again. So there's going to be flakes of red in the next one from the red beans. It's only 8 songs. I'm gonna need to do some work to, like, get decent vibes and consistent. Do, 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 do. If you want to do simpler versions of this, what I have seen a lot was people would like take their half apple and they just slice it and they'd put it down. And they just arrange the apples and shove them together like that instead of this arrangement. Right there is being odd. Gonna use some of these scraps to fill in where there's like parts. Or there's like gaps in the apples. By the time I'm done with this, the other one will be ready to come out and we can swap them. Need ones that are actually cut thin enough for this last bit. One down. Were you serious about me making a savory one? Or was that, like, mostly a joke? Okay. Just making sure. I don't want to go slightly weird and then have you be like, too weird, too weird! Where are you? No, you're in here. There you are. pulling the red beans out of this crust. The picture is gonna have to be like pulled from the stream VOD, cause yeah, I didn't read it. Sorry, Snack. We've got smoked Gouda. Because this was a last minute decision, so I'm working off of what was in my fridge. Yeah, smoked Gouda is delicious. Figured out of what I had, it would go the best with apples. To be honest, if I went to a store with open options, I still might pick smoked Gouda for this. It would be kind of down to that or a sharp cheddar. I love apples with sharp cheddar. I was trying to figure out where the rest of my peel was. Using Granny Smith's. These are Granny Smith apples that have been macerated with sugar, with maple sugar, nutmeg, cinnamon, and a little bit of salt. Maple sugar is because the in-game recipe for apple tart calls for maple sugar. Basically, my plan here is I'm going to take little pieces of the smoked Gouda. We're going to space it around They were definitely unintentional, but I can see the appeal. And every couple of rings, we're going to add a little bit of gouda mixed in. I don't know, if Vamp had her way, this is how I do a lot of my cooking streams. Have like, okay, this is a basic way. That's how you make an apple tart. Now let's have some fun with it. If it weren't for the fact that I probably never have time to actually play the game to get the next set of recipes, if I was doing double cooking every time, it's not something I'd have an opposition to. Cooking is an art, and like most arts, you learn how to do things traditionally, properly, if that's the word you want to use. But the old school way, and you understand what's going on, and then you start to give the middle finger to the classics. But if you don't have the foundations, if you don't have the fundamentals, your middle finger is just gonna be that, a middle finger. You're not gonna come up with the really cool stuff if you don't understand why they did what they did, so you can go, no, I'm gonna make a different choice. That seems like a good spot to come back in with more cheese. Like, if you don't understand what makes a bee's knees, and you don't understand the interplay of salt and sugar and acid, you'll never make a feta bee's knees. You'll probably also never do that, because what the hell was wrong with me? Actually, no, that drink was good. I won't even lie. Like, if you don't understand why things work, so that you can distill down and, like, swap out like, I want to do this. Where should it go in? How does it work properly? That's the type of stuff fundamentals teaches you. I think that amount of apples is just right for 2 tarts, to be fair. Maybe a little bit extra. Like, the more I set these out, the more I'm understanding how important it is to have thin slices of apple that will curve to get this design, and how thicker ones don't curve, and then they like they don't just disrupt themselves, they disrupt later ones. It's like when you've got one like this, it won't hold its shape when you curve it, so you'll just end up with a straight piece of apple. It's just like jutting out and causing problems. Yes, fin slices. You gotta get pieces of fin into your apple tart, or, you know, just won't work right. We're going to save the ones that are too thick for the middle. Because in the middle, kind of just break them. Back is starting to protest a little bit. Got a little bit left there. I'm going to add a touch. That macerating liquid over top. And that's called a snack for later. Rinsing my hands off. And then it's just like baking from this point. Yes, I will take a picture